The top 5 things that I did within 1 to 2 years after my near-death experience that continue to pay dividends to this day. The first thing was quitting my job as a paramedic of 13 years, which is a little unconventional, and collecting my pension. And a portion of it I took in cash and ended up traveling to all the countries that I wanted to visit. Went to Mexico, Guatemala, I visited Hawaii, Ireland, Bali, Kenya, Tanzania, a few others. And the people that I met, the courses that I took, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. I realized that any day could be my last, and if I had died in that accident that day, I never would have had a chance to go and learn what I learned and see what I got to see. Next thing is starting a process of detaching from people that I didn't see as having a future with me, whether it was because of toxic behavior or because these were people that weren't committed to their own personal evolution. I slowly drifted apart from a lot of people that were just more content to stay in their own regular thing year after year. I realized that that was just not going to be compatible and was only going to hold me back from my own personal evolution. Third thing that I did was deactivate social media. I started to notice very quickly how much time was spent scrolling Facebook, scrolling Instagram, and just how horrible I felt after comparing myself to other people. Comparing myself to other people's filtered lives and realizing how precious the limited time is that we have on this planet, I saw that as a pretty big time waster. And anybody that was worth me staying in touch with, it was easy for me to stay in touch with them through other means than social media. I started a process of living according to everything that I wanted to do, regardless of what other people think. I noticed just how much of my life was lived to be accepted or please other people, and how suffocating that was, how much pressure that had put on me. And after realizing very clearly that we can die every day, I was a little irritated at myself at wasting so much time trying to be accepted or impress others. And I'm not perfect in that. It still does creep up on me, but I see that as a massive time waster and something that people are really going to regret at the end of their lives. And the last and perhaps most important thing that I did is I took a long period of time in solitude. I was able to take, after quitting my job, I had the savings and I was able to take some time and go live in my camper van and be in forests and by lakes. And that time being in nature, meditating, praying, hearing really my own voice, hearing the voice of silence, getting used to silence, being outside of service area for cell phones and not having that distraction. That time was incredibly rich. The dreams that I had were extremely vivid and fed back to me information and messages and symbols that I needed for my life. And after coming out of that period of time alone, with very little contact with others, I started to realize just how much I absolutely loved my own company. How I appreciated connecting with other humans, because that's part of who we are as humans, but that I was now okay whether I was alone or in the presence of other human beings. And then from that, if another human being in my relationships, in my field, was a less pleasant experience than the experience of being alone, I really limited and continue to limit time with people like that, because I really fell in love with the experience of aloneness and silence. There's so much richness in that is actually impossible when you're around other people. And in that way, Having that radar, if it feels the same or better, yeah, those are great people to have around. But if it feels worse, I'm going to really limit that. I'm going to really keep an eye on that. And those things continue to really pay dividends in my life. I wouldn't go backwards. I wouldn't trade those things for the world. And so I'm excited to see how they will continue to pay in my life going forward. And I would encourage any of you that if anything that I said popped out, to get really curious about that, to not waste any time and move towards that, because anytime that we're drawn towards something that we haven't quite done yet, but somebody else has, that's a really good sign. It's something to listen to.